Sisi kama serikali tumesikia na tumepata malalamiko mengi, sio ati ni hawa tu wamefika siku ya leo. Hata mkutano wa NDICC wa wiki iliyopita nilipeleka hiyo hoja huko na kauli kakatwa ya kwamba lazima tusimamishe hiyo biashara ya kuchinja punda.
This directive by the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary followed sustained opposition by communities and smallholder farmers who depend on the beast of burden for their livelihoods. The beast of burden, a name befitting these animals whose circumstances bear marks of burdens that are possibly heavier than the ones they carry on their resilient backs. Backs whipped to direct movement, an approach the agriculture minister metaphorically employed, whipping the involved into the direction he believes to be the best way forward.
Hiyo policy ya kutumia punda kama mnyama wa kupeana nyama, kumchinja, ilikuwa ni policy ambayo haikuwa imefikiriwa vizuri. Kwa hivyo NDIC zilisema tuisimamishe hiyo biashara. Na kwa hivyo tunawaandikia wale wanahusika katika hiyo biashara ya kutengeneza bidhaa kwa kuchinja punda wafikirie biashara ingine.
Kwanza tunafurahia sana tukisikia hiyo kichinjio imefungwa. Biashara ya ng'ombe, mbuzi na gamia ilisimama, wote wafanya biashara wote walirudi kwa punda. Sijui walipata pesa kiasi gani.
People had begun tying donkeys to their beds. A donkey can be very dear, 30 dear. So when the ban was declared, amazingly then, to us people out there working with communities, the theft cases dropped drastically.
Over the years, the spike in cases of donkey theft and cross-border smuggling had reached its peak after the government first granted a license to the first donkey abattoir in 2016. By 2019, there were 4 such facilities licensed to operate in the country. A lucrative business attributed to the growing demand for a product known as a jiao for the Asian market, a traditional Chinese medicine obtained from the skin of a donkey. And with this, the donkey population crisis appeared inevitable. The mostly pastoral community living in Marsabit County, which shares a border with Ethiopia, is among those that bore the brunt of the rogue donkey business, as this was a crucial point of smuggling of the animals from Ethiopia.
Mambo ya kichinjio wakati ilikuja tulisikia ati kuna kichinjio zimefunguliwa huko. Alafu biashara ya punda ilikuja mpaka hapa Moyale. Wezi walikuwa wengi, mapunda zikako zinaibiwa. Tukako tunachunga punda yetu ikitoka hivi kidogo tunakimbia imeenda. Tunaangalia mali imeenda. Mambo ya soko walikuwa wanaenda kununua huko kwa bei rahisi, wanapeleka huko sijui wanauza na bei ya juu. Tunaulizia kwa nini mnanunua punda hata kama imekunda? Wanasema sisi haja yetu sio nyama, ni ngozi. Sijui wanatengenezea dawa, wanalipeleka huko nje wanatengenezea naye dawa.
Wakati hiyo punda inaibiwa sana, report inakuja. Tunafuata, wengine inapatikana, gari ikiondoka vingine wanakosekana.
There's a lot of movement of donkeys from across our borders, mainly Tanzania and Ethiopia. To a large extent, these were the places, the countries where donkeys were moving in, because our communities along the two borders are more or less similar. So their cultures and customs are the same. So there's a lot of trade and there's a lot of family interaction between the two communities at the border. So that allowed donkeys to move in easily. For instance, quite a number are moving towards Naivasha slaughterhouse from Moyale, for example, and also Mogotio slaughterhouse. That is not happening.
The donkey smugglers would avoid the formal border crossings that linked the two countries, opting for other routes where there are no border controllers.
Wanapitia wanakuja wanaingisha pamoja na hii hapa wanaenda naye, alafu wanaenda main road, wako broka ngine sasa kununua na gari iko hapa.
Mama the Harbour, like many women in this area, is heavily reliant on donkeys as a mode of transport for carrying water and firewood for both domestic use and a source of income.
Income yangu sasa kwa wingi inakuwa ni upande ya punda. Tunakuanga na makastoma ya maji. Tunaenda kushota asubuhi maji, tunapelekea makastoma, mwisho wa mwezi tunapata income. Saa zingine tunaenda kuchukua nayo kuni, ndio tunaanza kupikia naye. Tunaanza kwa mambo ya kupika, nafanya na hiyo.
In the semi-arid region, wells run dry for most of the year, and the journey to and from water sources is a daunting task, a tiresome trek along an uneven terrain, sometimes more than 100 kilometers away. This is where the donkey plays a critical role. Donkey owners like Ibrahim Wako have put together a lucrative donkey transportation business.
Rafiki zangu wengi wako na biashara ya punda, basi hata mimi nikaanza. Nilinunua kwanza punda 2 na nilianza biashara hiyo, na tena nikaajiri mtu mmoja, tunachota hiyo maji, tunauza hiyo maji, tunatumia hiyo maji. Kwa sasa niko na punda 6. Kwa siku napata 1,200. Hiyo pesa tunatumia nyumbani, tunawekea kando na tunalipia mshahara, na tena nalipia watoto karo.
In Moyale, to be specific, in this settlement, water supply within this town is so poor. People tend to fetch their water far areas of Olale, and donkeys are used to supply this water in the homestead within Moyale sub-county. And in doing so, specifically our mothers and the young boys have taken opportunity. The less advantage within the society are taking the advantage to supply the households using these donkeys, and they earn their living from this.
Sometimes owning a donkey can mean the difference between poverty and survival for some of the families in this community. At the crack of dawn, when the sun rises and her rays land softly on the land, a film of heat acting like a slim duvet that precedes a flurry of early morning activity. It is common sight to see hundreds of donkeys loaded with jerrycans making their way to the water sources. These beasts of burden are forced to make many trips to fetch and transport water to different households here. And after working alongside his owner all day, the donkey has been let loose to eat, find a puddle to drink from, and rest for another day of hard labor, recharging to once again earn the title Beast of Burden. But fear looms that the status quo might shift. On the 5th of May 2021, the High Court lifted the ban on the slaughter of donkeys imposed by the Agriculture Cabinet Minister. The courts granted a temporary injunction allowing the companies to continue operations. But their license has not been renewed and operations remain suspended.
When the government allowed them to issued them with licenses to slaughter, there are some conditions that they were supposed to follow. One of the conditions was that they were to breed stock for slaughtering. Number two, they were to work with farmers, engage farmers from various areas where we have donkeys. And three was that they were also allowed to import donkeys from other countries that do not slaughter, like Uganda, Tanzania, Sudan, and Ethiopia. But they were to follow the right channel when they are importing the donkeys. You know, if you just import, there were a few of them were trying to bring them through Marsabit and Isiolo without following the public health or the veterinary procedures. Then they can also bring in diseases. Unfortunately, they didn't do all that. They just concentrated on slaughtering donkeys from Kenya. And we realized that the donkey population was dropping very fast. And that's why the ministry came in and told them that now that we did not follow this, this, and this, we are stopping.
When we heard that the court has ruled in our favor, we were very happy by that time. But as things are turning right now, we are yet to resume our operations. According to the letter or the complaint that are being raised and the letter we received from the Director of Veterinary Services, is that there was rampant theft of donkeys, and there was also decline in donkey population. One of the requirements was that we need to have a breeding program. We need to have a breeding program. And the second one was that we contract farmers who will be supplying us with donkeys and around the country. As we are talking right now, we've contracted more than 2,000 farmers across the country who have agreed to breed donkeys for our own for slaughter. They'll be breeding the donkeys and then sell back to us.
They were to reapply for their licenses to be reissued because the Directorate of Veterinary Services ought to inspect them and issue them with licenses every year to allow them resume operations. This has not happened because they are also having certain things that they need to comply with. So we are happy that as we talk today, I can confidently tell you that the status is that there is no donkey slaughterhouse operating in the Republic of Kenya.
Right now, what we are doing, we are getting farmers who are supporting donkey slaughterhouse or who are supporting donkey slaughtering. And those are the farmers we are working with. Any farmer who thinks that he's not in a position to sell his or her donkey, we are not forcing him. We are not forcing them. We are working with those farmers who are willing to work with us.
We did not refuse to obey the court orders, but we said we want to inspect these areas where they are. So we sent a team to look at the abattoirs. They have inspected. They saw some issues that the abattoirs were supposed to do, the slaughterhouses were supposed to do. So it correct. So they corrected. We also have a report from public participation. A report from the DVS has already reached the minister's desk. The report from the public participation has not reached the minister's desk. So I'm hoping that by early next month, early next year, we shall be able to give a report. The minister will have to give a report, but I can't now say whether he'll say it should continue or it should not continue. But it will depend on how they have complied with the guidelines that they were given.
But opinion remains divided, as some feel they have over time done the donkey work in ensuring that the donkey work works for them and their livelihoods.
from the time the first abattoir started operations in 2016 up to just 2019, 3 years, Zainab, the population of donkeys had plummeted by about 800,000. So if we had given these commercial slaughterhouses about 2-3 years, we would be talking about different stories in the number of donkeys. They would have diminished to very insignificant and of course unsustainable levels. So even the statistics bear us out.
Vile kampuni ilifungwa, so imeleta changamoto sana kwa familia mingi. So unajua punda ilikuwa imepata bei, na kulingana na zamani punda haikuwa na bei mzuri, lakini vile kampuni ilifunguliwa ikawa na bei at least inapanda juu.
Punda hakuna siku sisi tunaweza kubali chinjwe. Hiyo ni laana kwetu. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali yetu akiongozwa na Rais Kenyatta, tafadhali uheshimu hata sisi kama vile tunaheshimu wewe na kupenda wewe. Shauri tafuta mambo ingine, kama unataka hii mashini ifanye kazi, ichinjwe mbuzi na ng'ombe. Tunaona hiyo ni afadhali, sababu analetea sisi faida, analetea sisi baraka, sababu ni chakula yetu. Lakini punda hapana. Tumekataa na tunakataa.
For now, the donkey population has remained largely stable and a common sight in many parts of the country, remaining a critical source of support for households while create the stand of the cabinet secretary and the reality on the ground make a divided view that for some seems to be a dilemma. At the center of this burdensome debate is the beast of burden, seemingly clueless of the burdens around its existence and use, just obliviously waiting for the next round of burden to lift off of someone, as has been its norm for donkey years. So who between the opposing sides and interests will carry the day? Well, it doesn't know.